Okay, now we're streaming. So let's call the meeting to order at 3:34 p.m. We have Karen Corcoran, Alicia Cranston, Art Searle, Don Lico, and Lisa something. In attendance.
Gorgeous.
Oh, hey, Lisa.
Hi. Doing it on my phone for the first time, so.
All right. So the first thing on the agenda is open forums. Anybody have anything they want to discuss?
The folks from Treehouse were setting up some cabling for electricity and getting ready to string that out to the grassy knoll.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Where is the grassy knoll?
The patch of woods between the junior high and the athletic field.
Excellent.
I guess that's it for me.
So what you're saying is we're getting ready for graduation.
It's closer. It's another step closer. We had a good test today, and looking forward to seeing it go.
Excellent. Does anybody else have anything that might not be on the agenda? Okay. I'd like to table number 3 and go to number 4, new business, internet filtering. So one of the things that we as a committee have to do is reevaluate our internet filtering every year. I have not prepared a recommendation, but I just wanted to get a feel for if you guys were happy with how it was or whether we wanted to make some changes so I could prepare something for the next meeting so we could vote to send it to the school committee.
I'll chime in on a couple of things. I know that it's thought that EWG Secure and EWG Student have the same filtering profiles, but that's not the case. And I frequently have kids coming in whose Chromebooks are locked on Secure, EWG Secure, and they can't get off of that, and they're trying to do legitimate work. So they'll come into the 202 lab where we can get them onto the student network, and then they can get to different resources. I'll give you for an example, Adobe's Creative Cloud, to go authenticate and get that Creative Cloud app to run, Secure will prohibit that authentication from happening, and Student will allow it. So,
and that makes sense because the way it's set up is Secure is at the lowest common denominator. So it's basically an elementary school level. And Student, depending on what type of device you're logging in from, you get a different profile. So a high school device will get a different profile than a device that's, Metcalf.
My suggestion then would be, at some point, let's revisit either the ability for a high school student to switch their Chromebook to Secure, Student rather, or for the Secure level at a high school device to have the access permissions that the student level does.
Okay.
That's my only gripe with the filter right now is at least once a class, Mr. Searle, Premiere won't load. What network are you on? Oh yeah. And other students coming in, I can't get off of this network. I can't get off of Secure, and I need to be able to do X, Y, or Z.
Right.
And for legitimate purposes.
We can look at that, see if we can make some improvements there.
We have the same challenge at Lynham because when we try to go on for, like, we pull projects down from Teachers Pay Teachers or from Pinterest, it won't let us get on.
Yeah, you can't do any of that unless you're connected to EWG teacher, EWG staff.
Staff, right. And it wants to like default us off and put us onto Secure. And then a lot of times it just spins when we're trying to get on to the staff. So like we seem to have an issue with that on a regular basis in our building.
Okay. As far as
The
what
junior
sites
high-
are, go ahead, Lisa.
I was gonna say, it seems to work well. I actually have everything in the lab on secure because there's so many different students coming in to change user each time would be a big hassle. So secure works well for me. Staffing is an issue because every time a staff member needs to authenticate on a new device, no one remembers their password from like, I don't know, I think it was like 1999, maybe 2001, that they all set that up and no one happens to remember that. So if there's a way for ease of resetting staff passwords or even printing those and having a hard copy with me or the office so that staff know what that password is.
Yeah, our Wi-Fi authenticates against the old Windows network, and the only thing we use that for is staff Wi-Fi and the printing, paper cut. So, and I've been trying to find a way to use Google for that for a long time. And it looks like they have a way now, but you have to buy Google Premium, which would be about $9,000 a year for the district. So it's something we're looking at for the future, but I don't have it in my budget right now. So
It's fine to keep. It's just a matter of when a lot of staff don't remember. Because like it's Windows. When we last used Windows, which was I don't know,
right,
quite some time ago, before you, for sure.
yeah. Okay. Is there any? So that's all. I think we can address a lot of that, and I'll continue to try and find a way to make the Windows authentication better or switch. Does anybody have any problem with the categories we're filtering? What students can and can't get to? Are we blocking too much? Are we not blocking enough?
I'm all good with that. I stay on secure, but I've had no problem.
Okay.
I'll say that requests to unblock this or, hey, I can't get to that are significantly lower this year than they have been in years past. Maybe that's a result of hybrid learning or reduced population in school. I don't know, but I'm not looking for you to change anything right now.
Okay. Is there anything else under internet filtering before we move on?
I'm sorry, I missed part of that conversation, but I have to say, I love the fact that I can approve videos for my students now, that I
Yeah,
don't have to go through you.
I really thought you guys would like that. That's why I turned it on.
Does that feature log who gives permission?
It does.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I can go in and find out who approved that terrible video. We can
So
have
just a word to everybody that you probably want to watch the whole thing before you say, hey, this one looks great.
You are no fun, Art. No fun at all.
Just saying. You never know what's going to creep up at the end of a video. Or middle of it.
I've seen some videos where people, posted content for little kids and then threw some really crazy stuff in the middle of it. You gotta be careful.
Watch the whole thing.
It might not be just about rocks, you mean?
Right. All right. So also under new business, we've got summer work. This year we're installing some Promethean boards at Metcalf. And I think maybe one or two at the junior high. Joe has a big to-do list. He wants to switch over our IP scheme and make some changes to the way beef up our security, basically. Do more access control lists so that students can't get to certain things, and just basically create a firewall between the business office and the students so that they don't need access to all that stuff. So why do they have it? Hopefully we'll work out all the kinks before school starts and you guys won't even notice a difference, but you know how that goes.
Did any of the students from my capstone class contact you about internships?
Not yet.
Okay, they seem pretty jazzed about the potential and the opportunity. Maybe they're waiting for graduation to happen. I don't know.
That could be.
Okay, just wondering.
I'm looking forward to it. I hope they do.
I hope they do too. I think district will benefit, you'll benefit, and they will too.
Does anybody have any questions or comments about summer work? Oh, and the other thing we're doing this summer is the teacher devices, which I don't think are. Yeah, no, they're further down on the agenda on old business. So we'll talk about it there. So we'll move on from summer work and go to old business. The 2021 bonds passed, which is good. They are upgrading the HVAC system at the high school this summer. They're hoping to have it installed before, or mostly installed before school starts, although I heard it may be a couple weeks into school. But so that's moving forward, and then they're working on the phase 3 submissions for the other projects, the roofs, the greenhouse, the playground at Wawaloon. So very excited about that.
Does anyone have a connection with the architect to spec out, who's specing out HVAC systems so that the one in the TV studio doesn't sound like a jet engine taking off?
So I have talked to the architect. I talk to him occasionally. I will say that the new RIDE requirements for sound levels in the classroom are much lower than they used to be. So almost all the HVAC equipment they're putting in has all of its noise creating equipment on the roof. So you shouldn't have any noise in the classroom from that.
Awesome. I know that
air moving, you shouldn't hear any motors. You shouldn't hear any, I mean, you can't buy an in-room air conditioner that's quiet enough to do that and meet the Rhode Island state specs.
Well, that's good news. I know I had. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Keep going. The separate thought.
I just had a chance. I was in the room when in the 202 lab when architects and engineers walked through, and one of the younger ones said, "So what are you doing here?" And I said, "This is our sound booth." I said, "Listen," and he said, "Gotcha. I understand." So I just wanted to make sure that that conversation didn't just happen in isolation with me.
No,
I'm glad to hear that there are different specs to make it work.
I want to say it's like 28 dB is the highest, which is like whisper quiet. So
yeah, great,
good.
Is my room on that HVAC list, or will
every room in the senior high school is
really
is being addressed in some way, shape, or form?
Wow.
Even the gym?
Yeah.
Because the
I don't think they're
like,
I don't think they're adding air conditioning to the gym, but I think they're replacing something about the heating, the air exchangers or something.
Wow, fresh air.
the ductwork is all there. It would be so easy to do.
Yeah, that was an extra. If they wanted to air condition all of the buildings in the district, it was a $12 million cost on top of the $5 million they're already spending. So that option did not get chosen. I mean,
Yeah, it was almost dangerous in there last night.
yeah, there's not much we can do about that. It was an option in the $90 million plan, but we're down to the $18 million plan. So
Oh,
any other questions
Hopefully.
or comments about the bond? Nope. All right. Classroom technology.
Well, one question. Do you think there's anything we need to do to prep our rooms? Because I know they're doing this extensive construction stuff to protect the machines, like in my lab. Is there, or just let it be and hope for the best?
I don't expect them to be doing a ton in there right away. So if we need to move stuff, we'll take care of it over the summer.
All right, because we had a good mold problem when I came back this year, but
Yeah. Well,
hopefully it's not there.
with the room not being used for that long, it
Yeah.
got really bad.
And there's no humidifier in there other than the one little one that I run. So the moisture really builds up.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be addressed. All right, classroom technology. I don't have anything on this item, but I figured I'd leave it on there in case anybody else does.
We do at Lynham. It's still an ongoing kind of situation where we're trying to get a better use of how we go about creating the portfolios that have to be done for the students and using the iPads that take the pictures and getting those pictures to then print. Where the iPads can't print, we're then having to try to get them to sync to a Google folder, and then that Google folder gets used on a laptop to then cut and paste the pictures into a Google Doc or a Word doc. And the iPads are not syncing correctly still. So we still have a huge hurdle around that for next year, where we're going to be back to full-size classrooms and numbers of kids and all of these portfolios, that we're hoping that we could get some resources where we could have like one of our PD days early in the year be devoted to that, that we could get maybe IT to support us some more with that.
Okay.
And also specifically in Sarah's classroom, they need to know how to clear their memory out on their iPad. Like they're always at a full status, I guess, and she doesn't know how to, clear her files out on there.
Okay.
Was her concern. But all three of us just don't have, it's huge time-consuming project that shouldn't be taking that much resource, just because there's not a smooth process for it. So if maybe we can have some support with that.
Okay. And we'll put that on the list, and I'll try to get them to include that in a PD day early on in the school year next year.
Super, thank you.
And it's the TAs who need the PD?
Mostly the TAs do it, but like Sarah I think the teachers would like to understand it too, so it might just be a good building one for one of our staff meetings in general.
Sounds good. Anything else?
And the other, we had one other one, was to get a feel for where the district stands with Seesaw and Dojo, or what's going to be used next year, because Seesaw has been really clunky for us this year. And we've lost a lot of our connection with the parents, and the TAs aren't being able to be involved because it's only the teachers that are on, and just knowing how we're going to be able to either have to adapt Seesaw further, or if we're going back, have the ability to go back to Dojo or something else.
The problem I have with Dojo is their business model, where they try to sell to parents.
Yep.
That's not good.
And they do sell to parents. Yeah.
Right.
They do.
Yeah, but the parents can say no. I don't know. I just find, I'm going to be honest with you, even on my end, the experience I had with Dojo was much more positive than it's been with Seesaw as far as communication with parents. At the young level, I can see Seesaw being more beneficial at the older levels, but at the younger levels, it's not as, it's too much for the parents, and it's not as smooth. But anyway, that's just my input. I'm still using Dojo for behavior stuff, but parents don't have access to it this year because doing two things would have been confusing.
Right.
But,
the other problem with Dojo is, as far as I know, they have not signed the student data protection agreement. So, we really need to start enforcing that soon. I mean, it's been a couple of years now, and
I will check them because I have access to a lot of things because I'm one of the mentors.
So if they're on the Rhode Island student data protection agreement, then great, we can just sign on to that, and that alleviates the concern. But if they haven't signed
student data protection agreement, okay.
Yeah. And feel free to get them in touch with me on getting that signed if that's something they want to do. I know a lot of companies don't like it because it it puts some of the liability for what happens with student data on them. but, you know, state law requires us to have that agreement. So that's where we're at.
Okay, I will do that.
It also breaks a lot of their models if they're selling any of the data. That's totally not okay under state law and under the data protection agreement. So places like Adobe have trouble signing that because their service model just doesn't allow them to sign it. They're making too much money selling data.
And it's really an invasion of privacy of people that aren't old enough to understand that.
Right. So, I mean, that's a good segue into software and data privacy agreements, which is the next item on our agenda. We have, you know, quite a few vendors who've signed. Basically, anybody we're paying usually doesn't have a problem signing it. It's the stuff we use for free. That's how they make their money, is by collecting that data and selling it. So, you know, if you're not paying for it, then you're the product. Somebody's going to pay for it. So I've been trying to get a handle on all the stuff we use around the district. It's a lot of tools. We've got signed agreements with a lot of them, but not all of them. And I'd like to seal that gap next year and get it to the point where everything we're using, we have a signed DPA or we have a plan to stop using it for the following school year.
Yeah, and even companies that we pay a lot of money to for their product, like Adobe, depending on how you use it, refuse to sign that agreement.
Mm-hmm. And I've been given, you know, the alliance is getting bigger. More and more states are joining it, and they're getting more and more power. They actually came up with a national DPA. So, you know, Adobe could sign the national DPA and not have to review 50 different DPAs with their legal department, which was one of their arguments. Google, same argument. You know, we're not going to evaluate 50 different state agreements. So they came up with a national agreement, and you know, it meets our needs. So, you know, if companies are willing to sign that, then they only have to have their legal team review it once and sign it, and they're good to go. So, you know, I was hoping that would get Adobe to sign. It actually was successful for one of the other big holdouts that a lot of other school districts use, GoGuardian. They were not going to sign it because it has uncapped liability for them, and their board didn't like that. And they saw how much business they were going to lose because a lot of districts were like, if you don't sign, we're switching to somebody else. And they ended up signing it. So Technology Excellence Award. Last time I checked, I had a few responses. I have 3 responses. Maybe we could set up a subcommittee to review those. Have any volunteers? Can't hear you, Art.
I'll look at them if you want my input. I don't care.
Okay.
I'll volunteer for that. I don't think I submitted anybody, but I'll volunteer for it.
Okay. And I'll do it. And that, I think 3 is enough. What do you guys think? Do we need more?
I know I had talked about sending one in earlier, and I just haven't, and I think I've changed my mind from our conversation last December.
Okay.
So
very good. And I might send out another email soliciting, because I'd really like to see at least 1 from each building. And we're not there yet with only 3. So. Anything else on the Technology Excellence Award? Okay. Student and teacher devices. I've gotten a lot of, well, I wouldn't say it. I've gotten some questions from staff members about the survey I sent out. mainly around, what kind of Windows computer you're talking about, and why would I want a Windows? That wasn't really there for teachers. I didn't expect any teachers to want Windows laptops. It was more for administrators. I like to give that option, especially for like Bob and Tish. They don't want a MacBook. They want what they use on their desktop. And then, do you guys have any questions or concerns about what I sent out or what the plan might be?
I fielded a ton of questions about what kind of adapter do I want with this.
Yep.
A lot of indecision about, or didn't understand what do I want with an HDMI or multiple USB-C. So I had people checking a lot of things. I said, listen, the device that you have today might not be there tomorrow after all of the smoke comes out of it, and it might get replaced by something with a different connector, a VGA connector, for example. So check that off. So that was
maybe some suggestions for people. Like most of the people probably want projector. So I'd say most of them are definitely going to want HDMI. Like you probably all going to want that. Because I don't think we have that many VGA and SVGA projectors left, I would say. But
There's more out there than you think there are.
okay.
But that's why I was asking, because most of the people who have it, it's been enough of an issue that they remember.
Yeah.
And I think the question is probably geared toward you also, in helping you understand what kind of adapters you're going to need to buy, because there are few devices, next to none, that have HDMI ports on them at this point. So
yeah, it's not really a thing anymore.
Yeah.
Right, every single device
was...
need a bunch of adapters, or one adapter that does a bunch of things.
And that's really what I wanted to find out was, do I need to buy, like last time we bought a round of MacBooks, I bought HDMI and VGA ports on the same block, and that seemed to work for a lot of people. I wanted to see whether that was still the direction we needed to go, or were we, were people thinking they didn't need VGA anymore? I didn't think very many people would need DVI, but and then I hear from people, oh, I want to be able to plug in these 3 things and I have 2 ports. Like, what do I do? So if you think that you need to plug in a bunch of stuff to your computer, let me know and I'll get you a USB hub so you have what you need.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of people. And I would say the device that I'm borrowing from Greg right now to make the stream work is exactly what would be ideal. It's got a bunch of USB ports. It's got USB-C connectivity and has an HDMI out. If it had a VGA out too, it would be the only dongle that anyone would need.
Right. The only thing it's missing is Ethernet, but it's got an SD card reader, so that's a nice trade.
And I know for our building, they just wanted to make sure where we finally have the TVs now, that whatever they get switched to, they're still going to be able to connect. And I thought that was the HDMI is how we're connecting, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So that was how I answered that for people in our building. And there was just a question from Ariel where she's new. She hasn't had the opportunity to buy out a device, and she was hoping that would occur because, looking to try to not always have to bring that device back and forth from home every night, and hoping that she could buy out her device to have one at home and one at school.
I don't mind people buying out, but that's why I asked the question the way I did. I don't. Basically, MacBooks are selling for a lot of money, even if they're 3 years old. And I don't think we can, in good conscience, say to the taxpayers, yeah, we got $200 a piece for those from the teachers instead of $400 from a company. So my plan was to get quotes from a few different companies and then kind of figure out what the going rate is and offer them at that. And if you want to buy it, that's fine. And if you don't, then we'll sell it to the company or keep it back as a spare.
Right, that makes sense.
And I'm sure, some of you might be taxpayers. You would want to see the same thing, happen.
Exactly.
And on the flip side of that, I have the Acer Chromebook R13. I'm not even I love this laptop. It's my workhorse, oddly enough, but if you offered it to me for $10, I don't think I would take it. So, that's the flip side of it too.
Right. All right, so that's good. And I've gotten really good response so far. I'm up to 152 responses. So, you know, remind your colleagues that if they don't pick, I'll pick for them.
When is rollout on that slated? Beginning of next year?
By the time we get them in, it'll probably be into next year. The lead time on devices is kind of long right now. Might have the same problem with the 9th graders Chromebooks that we had last year. Just so you know, the lead time is not like it has been in past years, but not as bad as it was last year. So we'll see.
What are you looking at for a student device this year?
So RISD has a new contract for devices. So I was planning to basically get quotes from all three and see what comes in. Because we'd be perfectly happy with Dell's, some of the Lenovo's, and I'm not a real fan of the HPs we got because they have AMD processors, but if they offered me an HP with an Intel processor, I'd probably be okay with that too. So I just want to see what comes in for pricing, and then we'll make a decision from there.
And we're still looking at keeping the junior high on iPads.
Yeah, they're in the middle of a lease cycle. We're not changing that.
You're going to sell the old iPads? I know you collected a bunch.
I haven't determined what to do with them. Chris was hot to trot on selling them. Joe and I are like, yeah, we'll get to it, but it's not at the top of our priority list.
I don't want
I'll
one.
throw,
I can
money.
last time I was working with teachers at Lynham and Alicia and the crew with that student portfolio, there were iPads there that were running, I don't remember what version it was, something ancient.
They're ancient.
Be
They're
updated.
so slow.
They couldn't, so they could use
A refresh.
Yeah.
I think they're iPads.
That's half our problem.
Yeah,
They're
and
just,
refreshing
they're not
those
even taking updates.
is on the list. I will remind someone that I'd like to have that done before school starts.
Yeah, that
That would be great.
That had to be what, a year and a half
That
ago?
was almost 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a year and
And
a
I
half,
said-
almost 2 years ago.
I remember working with Sarah and I said, this device right here, it's cute and all that, but you're not connecting to your Google Drive with it. You're not
Yeah.
going to.
Yeah,
Yep.
we
And the
should
one
be
in
able
our
to-
room was even older, and you just couldn't even run an update on it anymore. You couldn't do anything. It just like,
I mean, part of the
Right.
problem is when we go around with new devices, people, I'm not saying at Lynham, I'm saying at other schools, we'll go around with new devices and people will say, why? I don't want to give you back the old one. I want to add
you
two.
can have our old ones.
And, you know, at a certain point, you have to say, look, these things are 7 years old. We're not going to support them anymore.
Right.
You know, even 6 years old is pushing it. But I had some people with 10-year-old iPads and they wanted to know whether they could change the battery in them. Like, no.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
It's
no.
time for a new
Throw
iPad.
it away. Throw it away.
All right, so I will keep pushing forward on that front.
And I can offer that if you end up collecting in more laptops that staff want to purchase, you could put that out there, because there's a lot of junior high families that we've had to resort to buying laptops for our kids to do the homework, because to do their homework on the iPad is so labor intensive and hard to expect them to sit there and type something on the iPad. Even like the connectivity of a keyboard is frustrating. So we end up resorting to, oh, guess what? That's your Christmas present. You're getting a laptop. So there's a lot of conversation, I know, just from the family side of things, that if there was a more economical way for people to buy used computers to give them a Chromebook to use, I bet you'd get that received well. So if you end up with old Chromebooks that you want to,
well, we do have a big fleet
push out there.
of the Acer C740s that are mostly in the hands of students that we're planning to collect at the end of the school year. So I mean, we will have those. Their
Yeah.
end of support.
Just to know that you would probably be making people happy if you put that out there.
The problem with them is their end of Google support, so they won't be getting updates after, I want to say it's July of this year.
Oh gosh, yeah. So they're pretty dated.
I mean, well, some of them are. The C740 was in service for a long time. It was Acer's top model for 5 years, and then there was 4 years of support on them. So some of them could be as old as 9 years old, and some of them could be only 4 years old. But it's the same hardware inside. Acer just produced them for that long. Because they were top of the line. I mean, they're still faster than some of the new Chromebooks that you can get today. But you know, at a certain point, the chipsets just, they don't want to keep writing drivers and security updates for it because it's older tech.
Yeah,
Alicia, that's an observation that has been made by members of the tech team to administrators in the junior high. Maybe hearing that from a parent would carry a little more weight, or if hearing it from parents, plural, would maybe carry a little more weight, because
yeah, I know a lot of parents have brought it up to Mary at open house and stuff, and people have voiced their opinion at open houses that I've been at. And she just keeps saying, no, we need the iPads for the technology that it allows us to use. And there's not too many things that I've seen. I've now had 3 students come through the junior high, not many things that they do on that iPad that they couldn't have done on a Chromebook. And the Chromebook would have made doing the rest of their assignments so much easier.
I've been told, I've been told that for math, it's essential that they have the iPads, and that's why we have iPads. The math teachers need them, and there's something they do with them that they can't do on the Chromebook.
Yeah, I'd be curious to what that is.
I personally don't like them, but I lost that battle a long time ago.
I know.
I try every year.
I'm with you.
I had to teach on an iPad instead of a computer at the beginning of the year, and oh my God, it was so hard to teach computer applications on an iPad. It was really, really stretching my skill set.
I wonder if we could look into what those applications are that they're using in math and try one of the new 2-in-1 Chromebooks that also run Android apps. See if one of those would work. Because, you know, if they see that they can use the same tools or very similar tools on an Android, on Android running on a Chromebook, they might change their mind. Because it does make typing much easier.
Yeah, even a progressive web-based app with a touchscreen Android device would solve the problem of usability and probably save the district a ton of money.
Yeah, and like I have to tell you, I just picked Devin up from PT, so I just said to him, "Can you think back and remember?" And he said it was basically like random days, a website that they might have used. But it was nothing consistent, and most of the time, like, he would come back to, and that's what I did get him when I broke down and got him his laptop that year in junior high, was a touchscreen laptop, and so he can use the touchscreen, for those applications instead of the iPad, and much better to sit and type at his laptop than what we tried to do with attaching the keyboard and that didn't have good connectivity, and the whole frustration process with that. So
I mean, I don't mind spending the money if it's the best tool, but what I hear from a lot of people is it's not the best tool for the classes that they're teaching. But some people are saying it is the best tool. So maybe we can find a happy medium somewhere.
I think there's weakening. I think we've made a lot of progress this year in the push. if we're not up for renewal yet, so because we just got these devices, right? We're looking at 2 years down the line, Jeremy, I want to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe we could get a couple of demo, higher end touchscreen Chromebooks and try those as like a pilot or just put them in the hands of teachers so they can see what they can do with them. Much like we did with the high end Chromebooks for the teacher. And I'm okay that most of the teachers are picking MacBooks because we're not in a budget crunch. I've actually budgeted the same amount of money whether you get a Chromebook or an iPad, so that we could buy really high-end Chromebooks. If you pick a Chromebook, it's like the Mercedes of Chromebooks. Just like, you know, your MacBook is the Mercedes of teacher devices. Because at the end of the day, it's all about, I want you to be good at doing your job. I'm not worried about $300 is not going to make or break the school district. If it means that you can do your job better, let's do it, you know?
Speaking of MacBooks, I actually like the last generation better than this generation that we have now. They seem to have been.
You can keep your old one.
I have my old one. I actually purchased the old one, and I have this one here. Just saying, in terms of performance, the older one, I don't know what the spec differences were, and I've heard the same thing from a couple people. These just have a couple of glitches with them. I don't know why. And usually MacBook is fantastic.
So have you test driven the new MacBook, the one that I had, that Art has?
No.
When Art is done with it, you should take it for a spin. The new Apple silicon chips in there are pretty fast. I was so impressed. I was like, I might get a MacBook this year.
Is that the
I don't
one
like MacBooks.
Is that the one with the new chipset?
Yes.
I bought it for my son for his graduation.
The A1 processor is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I did buy that one.
Yeah, I agree, Lisa. This one is a little bit. The battery from the beginning didn't last as long.
Yeah,
it's a little not as good of a machine as the first one.
Just a little clunkier, and I was like, "Oh, that's funny." I didn't expect these like just random reboots. Or I'll lift the screen and it's frozen. I mean, it's still a great machine. I'm just like, oh, they went down on the quality a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
But maybe with the
either that or we get a bum set, you know. But it's still better than what we could be using, like the laptops my kids are using that are slow, that are brand new.
Or
right, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm not overly impressed with those HP laptops. But when your choice is, do you want Chromebooks this year or next year?
I know.
You say, I'll take whatever I can get, you know?
It just tries the patience of a first grader when they're waiting like 10 minutes to log in because it's so slow.
Believe me, I know. Not impressed with those. That's why I said if we do go HP, it won't be with those AMD processors because they're awful. I mean, they're actually okay if you have your user cached, but that initial load down when you're signing in takes a long time. And don't try and have more than 3 tabs open. Forget about it. It just doesn't work.
No, and it doesn't recognize the badges all the time either. Like they'll hold them up and it'll be like X, and then they hold it up again. Oh, now it works, you know? So just weird little things, but we push through.
That's all you can do. Not really much to talk about under the budget. We signed a 3-year deal for Sophos antivirus, so we'll be pushing that out on the new MacBooks as you get them. We're also going to add in the file wave management piece so that if you need an application, we can push it out to you. Note that should work, hopefully. We'll see. But I want the capability to be there. So just so you are aware that that's part of the package. That would let us do things like push out Office if you're one of the people who said that you really wanted it installed locally. I am reevaluating our Microsoft licensing. Right now we're paying for every teacher in the district to have a copy of Windows 10 and Office Professional Plus because it's the cheapest way to buy server, but I find we're running less and less here in the data center, so that might not make economic sense going forward. So we're trying to figure out, you know, how many people actually need Office. So if we have to buy copies of Office, we have the ones that we need, and we're not paying for people who don't need it. So that's why that question was in the survey as well. And the technology plan, again, we should work on that some more. Hopefully I'll be able to dig into that some more this summer. I'm hoping to put that higher on my priority list. And then share something awesome. Does anybody have anything awesome they want to share?
I do. Kids in the capstone class did an amazing job with their capstone project. As a team, they designed and built a home automation system, and it was not, you know, don't be thinking Siri, it wasn't that advanced, but they used Raspberry Pis, temperature sensors, humidity sensors, designed a web-based GUI for it to control lights, and it was pretty cool. It was a rewarding experience. I got to see real, genuine learning taking place in the complete absence of a formal curriculum, and it was so rewarding. I was not looking at, hey, here's Unit 2, Lesson 7, go get it, go do this. They chose the project, they did the research, they, you know, they burned up sensors and fried resistors and got code wrong and learned a little bit about Python and how to let the smoke out of a Raspberry Pi. But the end result was a presentation that was, and a finished product that was pretty cool. And it was a very non-traditional experience as a teacher, just being able to back off and say, give me a list of parts, I'll see, and soon, because it's going to take a while to get them, and watch them build it and program it and make it go. That was awesome.
That sounds awesome. Anybody else?
Melissa and I worked on that grant that we wound up getting. I don't know. I think you saw it because you gave us the numbers, and it was exciting to see who stepped up. There's 2 from each grade level to step up to work on the grant with Tufts University. And so it's interesting, but it's exciting too that we have some new people jumping on board to try these new things with Tufts University and the technology that they're offering us.
Yeah, I was impressed that you guys were able to get so much traction in your building on that. I've heard from other tech directors that their teachers actually backed out of the grant because they saw how much work they would have to do to implement it. And I was like, I haven't heard that from my schools. They're digging into it. So.
Yeah, I mean, Melissa and I had to apply to Tufts to do classes and stuff like that. They're paying for all of it as part of the grant. But
what is the focus of the grant, Karen?
So the focus of the grant is getting technology into early childhood a little bit more so, and also working on like Scratch type things with students, and just finding ways to bring technology into early childhood was the big piece.
Cool.
So
Yeah,
will it be as early as Lynham?
I don't know. I mean, we applied for it for Wallam. Jim sent it out to Robin and Melissa and I worked on it. So I don't know whether Lynham's doing it as well. I only know what goes on.
I don't believe that Lynham applied.
So
That's too bad.
Anybody else? Okay. I don't have a lot that's awesome right now, but we'll get there. Hopefully I'll have some more stories to share. I'm going to continue to schedule these meetings once a month in the summer, but probably earlier in the day, if that's all right with everybody. If you can make it, great. If you can't, that's fine too. But yeah, I want to keep the conversation going and maybe move the ball forward on some of the stuff that we don't have time to do during the school year. Thank you everybody for coming today. I appreciate your time, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, JT.
yeah. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.